Too small. It was a long time ago, and so I don't know how many people know the story of how the group got its name. We had been Dundee Rep Women's Singing Group for a while, and whilst we've always appreciated the support of Dundee Rep throughout the 20 years, it doesn't exactly trip off the tongue. So we had spent many long hours arguing about names, and I'm quite... I like a good name, I don't like a bad name. So there are all sorts of names that come up and I would go, no, that's too boring. No, that's too worthy. And no, it is no longer the 70s. And then we had a gig. We had a gig coming up in the bar, which is why there was this imperative to come up with a name. And I just went, oh, fuck it. And I just wrote loads of women singing on a poster. And that's what we are, let's put it up. And then there was this man who could see things that were right in front of everybody's eyes, and not everybody could see them. And he said, that's your name. And that man was Michael Myra, of course. And Michael was involved with the group for such a long time, and every single member of the group loved him very, very deeply, to an extent that I think sometimes scared him a little. And the last adventure that I was fortunate to have with the group before I ran away to Belfast and left Sarah Harrop holding the baby, for which I am forever grateful. Michael Duke had departed by then, and in his place was another amazing man called Steve Stenning, who's with us tonight, who actually was so brave that he actually was once in one of the shows with the singing group, which takes a bold, bold man. And so we started to dream. I think what happened was there was some guy who was fundraising. I wasn't sure about him at all. And he said, I know what I'll do. I think here's a fund, and then the women's singing group should do an opera. I wasn't really sure about that at all. But then I was speaking with Steve, and we went, what if the singing group did an operetta? And absolutely central and key and crucial to that idea was Michael Myra. And we said to Michael, could you write us the operetta that Gilbert and Sullivan would have written if they were writing for 40 women in Dundee today? And with his consummate humility and grace and humanity, he said, and he did, and it was utterly, utterly extraordinary. I remember the show was two halves, and each half was one continuous track of music that the women sang along to. And I work most of the time with professional performers, and most of them would tell me where to go if I asked them to do that. And I told the women that they could, and they believed me. And they did, and it was utterly extraordinary. And I think the last thing that I want to say about Michael, which is, I think for me, an absolute measure of the man that he was I remember every single evening when we did the show, being on stage with the women and us doing our warm-up and stretching and breathing and all that kind of stuff. And I remember glimpsing up into the very back of the stalls, and there was this diminutive little figure, I can say that, doing the warm-up with us. That's who Michael Myra was, and we miss him very much. The first song that the women's group are going to do is some excerpts from the operetta, which I know for me is one of the things I am most proud of doing in my entire career, and that is entirely due to Michael, and it was an extraordinary privilege and a great big laugh to work with him.